evening and welcome to a new episode of our program, The Daily Debates, Wednesday evening. Yesterday marked the 47th anniversary of the glorious victory of the October 1973 war. Many soldiers have lost their lives for this sacred land and to bring back its peace and sovereignty. And looking back at 47 years of achievements and those great soldiers and their families and the Egyptian people and their struggle and determined not only to regain their land but to also maintain its peace and stability for very long years and on all levels. Now we're talking about very long years and great achievements. We're going to be shedding light today and looking back at this great victory and the lessons that have been learned during the past 47 years from this war that was not just a war between Egypt and Israel or a war, if we may be more specific, between the Egyptian, Syrians and the Arab nation and Israel, but it's also a lot of stories that comes along with that and where we have reached today and how has that changed the face of Egypt. We're going to be talking more about that, reflecting back on what happened 47 years back during this glorious war through this report and through the eyes of the witnesses on history.
The October 1973 war, a radical turning point in the course of the Arab-Israeli conflict, has evoked interest by military leaders, strategists, research and study centers and media around the world. This is due to the fact that this war had had far-reaching repercussions and impact on the Middle East region, not only on the military and strategic level, but also on the overall political and economic life of the world as a whole. Statements by contemporary witnesses to the war are the most truthful historical accounts documenting facts and impartially and objectively assessing results of the war. Such testimonies are made by major strategists and military experts around the world. After the lapse of a quarter of a century, it might be beneficial to review these testimonies in order to learn lessons from the October 1973 war. Controversy has surrounded the question of responsibility over the failure to sound the alarm before the war, which ended on October 25th with a ceasefire agreement and more than 2,500 Israeli casualties. Haaretz covered the first days of the fighting reflects Israel's dismay at the news. Israeli intelligence failed to see war coming in 1973 because it was wedded to a concept that the Arabs would not go to war because they would lose. Therefore, the dangers of the war was minimal. Reporting Golda Meir, Israeli Prime Minister during the October War, she said that the Egyptians crossed the canal and hit hard the Israeli forces in Sinai. Moshe Dayan, Israeli Defense Minister back then, was probably the most surprised of all, and he almost immediately went into a deep depression from the shock of the disaster. By the late on October 7th, he was close to mental breakdown. As a result of honorable fighting waged by both Egyptian and Syrian armies, the Arabs restored their own pride and self-confidence, which led to the reinforcement of Arab influence on the international arena in general. With the professional planning and performance whereby the crossing process was accomplished, no other army in the world could have done better. This precise work on the part of the General Staff, particularly the element of surprise already achieved, resulted in remarkable success and decisive victory on a wide front. Long live Egypt! Long live Egypt!